It is 6:08 at WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast, and you're on Small Biz Florida with Tom Kindred.
Thank you, sir, and welcome to another installment and episode of Small Biz Florida, the podcast and broadcast that's all things business across the Treasure Coast and the state of Florida. Our show, as always, is brought to you by the Florida SBDC at Indian River State College. I am Tom Kindred. I serve as the Regional Director for the Florida SBDC at IRSC. And we have been spending an awful lot of time dedicating our weekly show to talking about the assistance programs and the relief and recovery programs and some best practices and some tools at the Florida SBDC to help businesses as they begin to re-engage and reopen. And so tonight, we thought we might do a little something different. We're going to reach out and talk to some of our partners across the Treasure Coast and see what's going on out in the marketplace. We're going to have with us tonight, we've got our good friend Joan Goodrich, who is the Executive Director for the Martin County Business Development Board, the BDB. Welcome to the show this evening, Joan.
Good evening, Tom. It's so great to join you and Michelle.
Yes, ma'am. And we've also got with us our very good friend and partner with us at the Fort Pierce Main Street, my old stomping grounds, 122 years ago. We've got Michelle.
I was going to say, was Fort Pierce a city when you were there?
Oh. Yes. We had just been incorporated when I took the job as Main Street manager, first Main Street manager down in Fort Pierce. But we great job and had a lot of fun down there doing that. So again, my heart will always be with the Fort Pierce Main Street program. We've got with us Miss Michelle Calvacanti from Fort Pierce Main Street. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Tom. It's great to be on with you and Joan.
Yep. So I guess I always kind of want to start this evening by asking our co-host and good friend and partner here at WPSL, how are things at the radio station and WSTU? Everything's good down here?
Things coming back.
I'd ask you about sports, but I don't think we have any of those.
Well, our afternoon shows on STU are coming back. We have 3 of the 5 back.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll get our Tuesdays back, and Monday likewise. So if that's the case, Martin County will be all taken care of on WSTU. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
All right.
Yeah.
And what do we hear about sports at anything? Any updates on
sorts of stuff? A lot of rumors going on. One happens to be the fact that it looks like Major League Baseball could be coming to Florida big time.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Because they won't let them play anyplace else?
Well, there's a possibility that the Dodgers and Angels will not be able to play in well, none of the teams from California will be able to play in California. So, yeah, they're talking about splitting it up between Arizona and Florida.
Wow.
And keeping the Yankees and the Mets together in some location.
Well,
we have no idea where. Hopefully it's here. That would be great.
It could be good for the Treasure Coast.
It will be good for the Treasure Coast, yeah.
All right, Greg, thank you for that update real quick. Nothing from Pioneer Sports, though. What do you hear from our...
Not yet. Nothing from the State Association yet.
Okay.
Which, of course, we're getting close to volleyball. Okay. And, of course, there's no students on campus.
No students.
So, yeah.
Right. So... All right. Well, that's our. Unfortunately, we usually have a pretty good time talking about Pioneer Sports here for a couple of minutes, but there are no sports going on at Indian River State College, so we'll have to stay tuned and see what happens there. Students at Indian River State College are still engaged online through the summer A and summer B terms. So it's business as usual in the new environment here in education. So. With that, I did, as I said earlier, I wanted to kind of reach out this evening and get kind of an update from the streets of our communities and see what's going on. So, Michelle, let's kind of start with you. What is going on in downtown Fort Pierce? Give us a little update about what is happening in terms of kind of the phase one reopening of some businesses in historic downtown Fort Pierce?
Oh, sure, I'd be happy to. It's not without bumps, but overall, I think everybody's really encouraged right now. We're really lucky to have a downtown that works together as it is. I mean, the businesses come together, they meet, they coordinate. We love being a part of that. Really, there's a really tight-knit community just among the business owners, managers, and employees. So that's great to start out with. So immediately, when everything sort of changed in this new normal, we had some of our businesses come together and say, okay, what needs can we fill since we can't fill others? And we had Burl Muse from Notions and Potions started producing masks. She's worked in a healthcare environment for over 20 years, did a fantastic job coming up with a great design, was immediately overwhelmed with demand, and Chrissy from Varsity Sports Shop stepped in. They started producing them together. At this time, they've produced over 1,100 masks here locally. So that's just some great starting points. But our restaurants downtown in phase one have focused on expanding outdoor seating. So you've got places like 2nd Street Bistro and Cobb's Landing that maybe already have, some really good outdoor seating. They've expanded on that. We are working with the city right now to finalize some parklet procedures that will allow some of the parking spots along 2nd Street between Orange Avenue and Avenue A to close, and it possibly even the streets themselves, so that these businesses can put additional tables and just additional shopping space out in the street to allow to increase that capacity. Because there's a lot of people saying, well, I don't feel like there's enough space, or so you want to make sure that you're welcoming and you're letting everybody know that you are doing all the steps possible to make that additional space available.
And there's good news on the horizon that the governor may lift it to 50% tomorrow in capacity.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
And I really hope that that's the direction we're going. I think folks understand that in order for us to make it work as we expand, they have to be responsible and actively engaged in keeping to guidelines. So there's been a good response on that front. And we've had several businesses who have just really been innovative. I mean, when we were dealing with not being able to have meals, to have restaurants open at all, with places doing family meals like Rooster in the Garden and the Brayford teamed up. The S&S was doing it as well, just where you could get a family-style meal.
Right.
Nice. So right now we're continuing curbside delivery and pickup for the restaurants, and there's spots that you can pull in. But you can also go in and eat inside. 2nd Street Bistro installed dividers in between their booths. That everybody, when you go in the restaurants, people are wearing masks, they're wearing gloves. There's a real conscious effort to not only be safe, but make sure that people feel safe too. So we're learning as we go along, but we've been really blessed that a lot of these downtown businesses do have loyal followings. And so even for places that haven't opened yet, say like our 2 downtown breweries, Pierce Cider Works and Sailfish Brewery, they've had they've done pretty well with people coming and buying and taking away their products. And I think that's going to continue. Not always steady, but it's there.
Roslow's, I'm assuming, kind of an anchor in downtown Fort Pierce. They are
Absolutely.
reopened?
Always.
Yep.
Always. They've been there for 7 decades. And we actually had a little Channel 5 hit that they did on Roslow's. We were thrilled. It was a great showing of downtown and how the retail shopping. We've been working with the National Retail Association to make sure that the businesses they have the information they need for sanitizing, say, in clothing stores. Roslow's has been really diligent about that.
So, Joan, kind of the same question for you, kind of an update. Where are we in Martin County in terms of businesses reopening and restaurants? What are you hearing from the streets?
You know, the small are so mighty and innovative, Tom. You know, and that's what I love about the Treasure Coast is how highly entrepreneurial everyone is. And we've certainly seen that in these COVID-19 times. You know, and very similar to what Michelle just shared up in her area of the Treasure Coast, you know, the response by our public partners to really follow what our business owners, retailers need as they go into this next phase of reopening or restarting. Just, you know, this past week, our City of Stewart Commission had, you know, a pretty robust conversation, and we're ready to close Osceola Street to pedestrian only. Yet after surveying, you know, the merchants and restaurateurs along that way, they said, just give us a couple of those parking spots. Let's not close it totally to customers that may need that close parking. And we'll, you know, double down on the shuttle system, you know, that we have in order to get people from larger parking areas into the downtown core. Yes. So, you know, that business friendliness certainly continues to come out and shine, which is, you know, just really wonderful at this time as we all are adapting and pivoting.
Yep. And, you know, Joan, I mentioned the other day, you guys really have done a great job of highlighting some businesses that have been innovative, and of course Michelle talked about Varsity and Notions and Potions, you know, kind of pivoting and doing some different things in terms of manufacturing masks. Talk a little bit about maybe an example or two of some of the ones in Martin County that you've highlighted that have done really a good job of kind of looking at different revenue streams and being innovative through this.
Yeah, we're so pleased with the community's response to some of these good news stories we've been sharing every Friday. We call them our stories of triumph, and it's ranged everything from our first story early in April was with H2 Ocean, and actually they've been here in Stewart for quite some time. They've been working on some soap and hand sanitizers, et cetera, that actually come from the ocean. Right. And, you know, so they were one of the first ones that we highlighted as to just how quickly they were able to respond with some of the FDA approvals that they had gotten as we were going into COVID-19. My other favorite story is Kyle Green, one of our restaurateurs that we share on Hutchinson Island with our neighbors in Port St. Lucie area, and you know what Kyle and his team did in just bringing together a lot of the restaurateurs as we were going into COVID-19 and figuring out ways on how we're going to feed ourselves. And so he is just definitely, you know, one of those rock stars, and, you know, continues to make such a great impact on our community. Nice. And then there was even one of our new businesses, and actually, Tom, this is someone that you and your team connected us to with Catherine Colhane here down on the Chastain campus of IRSC. Chastain introduced us to Karen Argus at PuroClean. Right. One of the new companies coming on to the Treasure Coast. She was just starting to open up her doors and had wondered, you know, what she was going to do as COVID-19 hit us. And she did an amazing pivot and ended up supporting some of the manufacturing of supporting some of the ventilation manufacturing that was occurring. So it is just, it's uplifting. Wow. You know, so in this time when you turn on the TV and you can get quite upset maybe with some of the other stories that you hear. We're just so pleased to bring those stories of triumph forward to our community.
Yeah, I mean, you've done a great job of highlighting those too. I really appreciate those stories, and we need to. As I told you the other day, I want to highlight some of those folks on the show, and because it really is kind of nice to see people innovate their way through this. Michelle, just recently, of course, it's always timing's everything in business, but there was actually a lot going on in downtown Fort Pierce. You had the new restaurant opening down on the waterfront, and then you just had a brand new restaurant just recently opened, the Thirsty Turtle. Kind of update us on those two new restaurants. The new Krabby's is pretty close to being open, is it not?
It's getting there for sure. We've been in conversations and just keeping up to date with their team at Krabby's, and I believe my most recent information would be that they're looking at the very end of June.
Nice.
to be opening up. If you haven't seen it yet, the building and the pictures are absolutely gorgeous. It's, we haven't seen the final iteration. I understand that every Krabby's has a little bit of a different vibe, so we're looking forward to having them there. We've talked to them about partnering on different projects right there along the waterfront, and they're really open and hospitable and looking forward to being a part of the local landscape.
Nice.
Also, their new menu came out, and I'm really pumped because I don't know anyone else in St. Lucie County that does, or at least downtown, that does a low country boil, and that's part of it. So it's a little different. It's seafood, but it's got a little different vibe.
Nice.
Thirsty Turtle, I feel so terrible for them. The day they were opening was the day that restaurants went to.
Wow. Or
it was the Monday after they went to takeout only for restaurants.
Wow.
So those are really, really
right.
extreme circumstances to try to open on, and but they have really balanced out. Their food is fabulous. We've actually been in there. Yeah,
I heard today.
Once we picked up takeout. And we're in there. So good.
I heard today. I mean, I was at a Kiwanis downtown Kiwanis meeting this morning, and people were raving about the food at Thirsty Turtle. So it definitely has. The word is already out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you support everybody, but I will say that genuinely, the meal I had there the other day, it was just excellent. So. I mean, definitely try it out. And they have just worked steadily throughout all of this. It's just been perseverance. It's been that way really with all the businesses. There's just a put your head down, keep moving, keep thinking, keep being imaginative. Right. And it's like their brains, none of them, they don't stop.
Yeah, well, when you and I spoke before, I was impressed with this whole idea, of let's close the streets and sort of bring the restaurants maybe out into the streets, which services their need to meet those social distancing. But what an innovative thought there too. I mean, to kind of bring those restaurants, expand them a little bit, and I think it kind of a neat Friday Fest type environment.
Yeah. Oh Lord, those are fun.
Yeah. So anyway, really, really good innovative thinking. And of course, we obviously know the standard challenges that these businesses are facing, lack of revenue and have to limit the number of customers coming in. But both of you, what are you, kind of seeing out there, some unique challenges that they're facing that, hopefully we can maybe bring some solutions to. Or you're seeing some different kinds of things that they're having to deal with at this point, and other than the, all that they're having to deal with?
So Tom, this is Joan. We just actually did a survey. I guess it's going on 2 weeks now. Time flies, and that was one of the concerns business owners had. Was that they wanted to make sure that the community knew that they took, the safety, the cleanliness, the disinfecting that is so important to keeping workers safe and certainly their customers safe so seriously. And So one of the, so they agreed, again, even if we had to go slow in order to regain that trust of customers to come out and see us, that we're committed to their safety. And so, part of some of, I think, what our community is moving into that phase is, how we need to engage our local residents, and share that message, kind of amplify that message forward.
Yeah.
And to that end, some of our economic partners here in Martin County have created a visual campaign called We're Ready, in which they're going around to our restaurateurs, our retailers, merchants, even service providers, and just allowing those owners and managers to tell their own story as to the standards and practices, new practices that they've put in place. And I think what's so impactful too is that now we see these owners on camera too, and we're reminded as neighbors that these are our neighbors, so that engagement and that two-way connection, I think is going to, really bear stronger connections as part of our community fabric, as we continue to experience COVID-19 all together. Yeah. So,
and Joan, you bring up a great point about the businesses wanting the customers and the consumers to know they're concerned about their safety. And Michelle, that really speaks to something that you told me today that it really is really an excellent point. You talked about that it really is about the customer experience. Talk again about what you said today when we spoke. I mean, it really makes a lot of sense.
Certainly. I mean, it really boils down to consumer confidence. People, it doesn't matter what we open, people have to feel comfortable coming in and participating in the world that's reopening. If people are scared, and a lot of times fear comes from a lack of knowledge or a lack of, if you're not there sharing what you're doing, how are people supposed to know? So it's really important, I think, to be safe, but it's also more important almost to make people feel safe.
Right.
I mean, it's hand in glove right there. Yeah. When people are coming out to these restaurants, it's not just enough for them to know, okay, they've got new guidelines. What you should really know is that the restaurant industry has always had incredibly stringent guidelines on health and safety. I mean, that's a day-to-day issue for them. So they are one of the most equipped industries to make people safe and to keep them safe, because they're already using those practices. I feel much more comfortable going to a restaurant than most places, to be honest with you, and have, because I know they're taking those actions.
Right.
But to get people to understand that we deserve their trust and in feeling safe, that's where I think a lot of businesses are going to have to face challenges, because quite simply, it doesn't matter if we open, if the governor were to come in and say everything's open, nothing, no restrictions, nothing. I mean, does that necessarily translate to people immediately running out? I think you've got to make sure that they know that you're thinking of their interests.
Yep.
And that's where I think Joan and I, and the roles that we have, we're looking at how do we communicate that and how do we facilitate that.
Well, listen,
that confidence.
I'm just happy that we have people like Joan and you, and Joan's got an incredible team, James and Kate down at the BDB. Joan, you guys are really doing good, just great work in terms of supporting the business community. You're doing a regular communications type program. Just talk real quickly, promote that a little bit. You're doing it's a webinar type series on Wednesdays?
It is, and we were so pleased, Tom, that you are our featured guest this week.
Yes, I'm sure
Wait a
viewership
minute. Back up.
Viewership plummeted, I'm sure, on Wednesday.
You were the featured guest?
Absolutely.
Oh,
sure.
my.
Sure.
Wow. 8x10s coming out.
And we have the greatest respect for you and Greg and others who produce these experiences, educational exposes every day and every week. It's not easy, is it, producing?
No, it has its own challenges, but you are doing a great job of making sure that the information is out there. And I think, and Michelle too, what's really interesting about the Treasure Coast is, I'm sure most people probably don't realize this, but every one of our municipalities along the Treasure Coast is a Main Street city. Am I right, Michelle? That is correct, right?
You are. You are correct.
Vero Beach, City of Okeechobee, City of Fort Pierce, actually Lincoln Park in Fort Pierce, and the City of Stuart.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say we've got, we are.
Right.
And that speaks to the local history and the local commitment to, at the risk of saying local again, to living local. I mean, that is how individuals can help our communities grow right now, is to not just speak local, but to be local and live local and shop local and support local.
Right. So between our economic development organizations like Joan and her team at the BDB in Martin County and organizations like Main Street, I really do appreciate what you guys are doing. You are the feet on the street that are out there helping these merchants and being supportive and promoting what's going on. And I really, really appreciate you taking time out of your evening this evening to talk to us and kind of update us. This is going to be a regular for a while here on Small Biz Florida, kind of making sure that we're letting folks know, what's going on in our downtowns and in our marketplaces around the Treasure Coast. It's just important that people know that things are opening. And to your point, Michelle, it is about staying local. So I appreciate what you're doing, Joan. I appreciate all that you're doing, and I certainly appreciate the powerful partnership and collaboration the Florida SBDC has with your organization.
Oh, thanks, Tom. We're in it together, right?
We are absolutely in this together. This is the Treasure Coast, and as I said, and as you pointed out at the beginning of the show, Joan, the small business owners are a resilient and savvy group, and we've been through some tough times before. Certainly, this is wildly different, but we've been through tough times before. So with the support and help of intelligent and smart and passionate people like you and Michelle, we will get through this too. So I appreciate your comments tonight, and I appreciate you updating us on all that's going on in historic downtown Fort Pierce and Martin County.
Awesome.
Thanks, Tom.
Great to be with you and Greg and Michelle.
Yep. Thank you.
Same to you, Joan. Thank you.
Yep. And with that, we will take just a little break here, so stay with us. We'll be right back with more Small Biz Florida.
Looking to build a technical career with good pay and growth opportunities? Then register today for the Indian River State College's Marine Training Program. Hi, I'm Bob O'Brien with IRSC's Corporate and Community Training Institute. The Treasure Coast is a booming center for both boating manufacturing and recreational use, and the industry is growing over 20% per year. The Marine Training Program at IRSC will prepare the student
Leeana,
to
can
enter
you
this
hear us?
high-demand field and work towards Yamaha factory certifications.
We gotcha. Thank you.
Course topics will include theory and engine operations, maintenance and light repairs, as well as general knowledge and skills. Join a growing industry and start earning more today by launching a career in the high-demand field of marine engine and repair.
CCTI at IRSC Marine Manufacturing courses begins soon. For more information, call 462-7630 or visit irscbiz.com.
With any business, the most valuable asset are the people and the teams, no matter how small or large the organization. Hi, I'm Catherine Culhane, Associate Director for the Florida SBDC at Indian River State College. Let us help your organization turbocharge your team. As a certified driving forces analyst, I will help management work more effectively with your people, increase and improve communication, reduce conflict and stress, better understand strengths and weaknesses so that your people are properly aligned in their jobs. Hire the right people. Let the Florida SBDC at IRSC transform your company using a customized assessment system, knowledge, and resources. Grow and accelerate your organization by turbocharging your team. To get started, contact the Florida SBDC at IRSC.
For confidential one-on-one business consulting at no cost, contact the Florida SBDC at IRSC at 336-6285. Online at irscbiz.com.
And we are back. This is Small Biz Florida. And for those of you just joining us, we just got off the phone with Michelle Calvacanti and Joan Goodrich. Joan is with the Martin County BDB, and Michelle is our good friend down at Fort Pierce Main Street. And they gave us a great update on what's going on in Martin County and historic downtown Fort Pierce in terms of what's opening and restaurant openings and retail kind of re-engaging in the marketplace. So great conversation with Michelle and Joan. And that'll be a little bit of a regular for us going forward here on Small Biz Florida.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, we're going to bring in these EDOs and main streets and kind of let them update us on what's going on. Because we've all been kind of sheltered in place for a while, so need to kind of know what's going on. So, and to the point of sheltering in place and re-engaging and reopening for businesses, a big part of this is going to be able the businesses is going to be able to get back out there in social media and let people know they're reopened and what they're doing in terms of keeping their places safe for consumers and customers and clients. So again, big part of really kind of re-engaging in the marketplace is going to be that you get re-engaged in your social media. And we've got just the person to talk to about social media and getting things dusted off and back up and running. We've got our very good friend and standout corporate and community training instructor, Miss Leeana Hagg. Welcome to Small Biz Florida, Leeana.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Yes, Leeana, you've been on our show before, so we appreciate you taking time out. I know hopefully you got all the children fed and all the hopefully you got all the homework done and everything. So we know you're busy, but we do appreciate you tuning in this evening and spending a little time with us, because it is important, Leeana. I think one of the first steps a lot of these businesses are going to have to take is really kind of re-engaging in social media. So we appreciate you taking time out to talk about it. But first, just give us again, update us a little bit on your background and kind of your pathway to creating C-level marketing your business.
Sure, yeah. Started back when I graduated UCF with a emphasis in marketing, got a bachelor's in business administration, and basically just went there right into the corporate world and started doing some marketing for Allstate and Jeppesen, does aeronautical charts for pilots, and basically was doing national marketing campaigns. It had always been a long-term goal for me to come back to the Treasure Coast and open up my own business. So in 2009, opened up C-level marketing, and thankfully a year later, I was able to start doing the workshops with the Corporate and Community Training Institute. And really since then, just been working with local businesses on the Treasure Coast, big and small, to kind of help them put together tactical plans, how to attack the internet and where to be and what strategies should be used. And really been doing an emphasis on the search engine optimization and showing up in Google, putting websites together and helping them do some internet advertising. So I always really feel blessed to be able to be involved with the local businesses and try to help drive some profits for them. I
love the way you describe it. Attack the internet. Boy,
you do.
Yeah. You really do. You've almost got to get in there and attack. I'm telling you, as
Yeah.
with all that's going on today. So again, and I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but C-level marketing really is a complete digital media, consulting type firm. You can also help folks construct their website and then also create those social media strategies and Google ads. I mean, you're kind of complete, right?
Yeah, basically for digital marketing, I like to take a whole approach instead of just focusing on one tactic. I like to say, okay, if we need to get you online, we need to approach it from different angles. There's not one golden ticket that works, so you kind of have to do all of it. And so I help local businesses kind of navigate. All right, I need a website. Okay, then I need the website to show up in Google. All right, now I need to advertise this website out on social media. I need to make sure I'm on directory listings, basically just try to drive them through the whole process so they're getting presence on the internet throughout all these different mediums.
Nice. So in terms of the digital and social media marketing, I mean, what are some of the current challenges that small businesses are facing during COVID? We know about all the business challenges, revenue and sales, but in terms of the digital and social media, what challenges are they facing out there?
Well, it's almost looked at as a challenge, but could also be an opportunity, is the immediate rise in need for e-commerce. E-commerce grew like 300% in 30 days. So it went from, and this is just statistics from Pew Research and other research agencies, but basically we went from, okay, I can walk into this store and buy some soap, like, we were talking about before, I was listening prior, to, all right, now I need to buy this soap online. So businesses had to react very quickly to figure out, how can I go from, brick and mortar doing business in my store to all of a sudden being able to supply all of these customers online. So definitely a challenge, but definitely an opportunity, because I feel like a quick switch to e-commerce is something that will last you for the long term. Internet's not going anywhere. So while it might have been a little bit quicker of a transition than businesses wanted to make, I do think it's a trend that's here to stay.
Yeah, and you made a great point, and I kind of wanted to talk about that just a minute. You do hate to kind of focus on, with all that's happened to a small business owner, to kind of, focus on, well, maybe there is a silver lining here, but to your point there, while it's still been very tough, and maybe it didn't replace all that they had done, there are some opportunities that may have come out of this, and they really are, like you say, in the area of e-commerce. And maybe they didn't know there probably are some businesses out there that didn't know that was a revenue stream, right?
Right. I mean, going into, the COVID-19, you might have been toying around with the idea of putting up an e-commerce shop, and maybe one day you were going to sell products on the internet. But then it automatically just kind of overnight went to, well, if you're not selling products on the internet, you are not making money. So how can I fix this situation to where I can get my products out there on the internet so people can buy them? Right. So, it is definitely something that, thankfully there's been some services out there like Shopify and some other e-commerce stores that have made setting up a new e-commerce site quick and easy. So that way small businesses can react quickly and without a lot of expense to do that quick change from, just brick and mortar to a little bit of mixing in some online sales.
That was going to be my next question. I was going to ask you, how difficult is it if you've got just a plain old ordinary, website? How quickly can you convert to an e-commerce website? And is there that much of a difference with an e-commerce website?
So basically, you've kind of got two ways that you can go about integrating e-commerce into your website. You can choose to kind of have it live right on your website, on your domain. And it's something that you kind of build, I guess you could say, inside the website. That takes a little bit more work and that takes a little bit longer. There's these other services, like I mentioned, like Shopify. You can actually go in there, set up an e-commerce store, populate all your products, probably take a few hours to get it all set up. And by the end of it, you can have an e-commerce store. And really what you're going to do is you're just going to link your current website over to the Shopify. So you would have a link on your website that would say shop now. And when they click shop now, it would actually take them over to your Shopify site. Almost if when you link people out to social media, it takes you over to the social media page. It would be something like that. Right. And so you actually set up the Shopify site, you link people over there, and it allows you to be up and running with e-commerce, at least within a day. I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time to set up, but, compared to the traditional means of setting up an e-commerce site, they allow you to do it in a quick turnaround so you can get your products up and on the internet quickly.
Wow. And, even for like radio stations like ours, TuneIn for us has been just an absolute boom because there are thousands of listeners outside of this market that are now learning about the Treasure Coast on WPSL and WESTU. Nice. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Do you kind of see a trend? And again, maybe a kind of a stupid question because of course, but do you see the opportunity now since people have gotten a little more used to maybe using the internet because now they just can't drive to the place of business? Do you think there's going to be a little bit of an increased use in social media? Maybe some people have had to use it that never used it. Now they're a little more familiar. What are you seeing trends out there in social media now?
I mean, if you just even look at the numbers of, even if you just use a restaurant, people doing takeout, people trying to order food online, people trying to do, the Instacart and Aldi shopping and all these sort of things. Even if you just look at the grocery and the food supply side of it, I think that there, even from my own personal experience, I am permanently spoiled, and I think I'll always do Instacart because now I can order my food and within 2 hours it's at my house, right? I don't have to go to the grocery store. I mean, I'll be happy to shop at the grocery store, but that convenience is really nice. So I do think, that, there's going to be a little bit of a behavioral change. I do think people still are going to want to go out to eat. People are still going to go to brick and mortar stores and look around. I don't think that's all dead, but I do think that there's been a level of comfort that we've all had to quickly acclimate to with the internet. We've had to do a lot more online shopping than we've ever had to do. We've had to do a lot more food preparation and whatnot than we've ever had to do. So I do think that people are a little bit more open-minded to online shopping than they were March 7th.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that about the Instacart. Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
sure.
I have you are probably the dozenth person that's told me about Instacart, and they said just like you said, I can't believe once I've learned this, I'm never going back to the grocery store. So, again, one of those things that we're going to learn now. As always, you've done some great work, Leeana, through the years in putting together workshops and trainings through the Corporate and Community Training Institute, the CCTI at IRSC. And again, now's no different. We kind of came to you and said, Leeana, let's put something together, for this kind of post-COVID social media world. So you, again, did a great job. You've put together a social media workshop called Marketing to Thrive Amidst COVID-19, and you've got your 5 steps for post-COVID-19 marketing. So let's go through those 5 steps and let's talk about what you're kind of instructing folks to kind of the pathway to get re-engaged out there. So take us kind of through the steps.
Sure. Yeah. The first thing I do is I really try to impress upon people that attend this training to really understand how important it is to define your market, because particularly on the internet with Facebook advertising and LinkedIn advertising and Google, all these different advertising mediums, you really have the opportunity to say, I want to target somebody that is 35 years old, that lives in Fort Pierce and has an income of $50,000 or more. You get what I'm saying? So you can get very, very specific. You can say, I want to get a person that's interested in boating. I mean, you can get really, really narrow. So since you have this luxury of really defining your niche on in your internet marketing, I encourage participants to look at what the persona is and to really define your target market down to what that person looks like. Look at their gender, their age, where they live, their occupation, motivations, goals, frustrations. What are the pain points that you can solve for this persona? And so you're going to have multiple personas per company, because if I sell cookware, I'm going to sell a pot to maybe a mom who's looking to cook for her family, but I'm also going to serve this same pot to a professional chef, right? So I'm going to have multiple personas no matter what my business or organization does. And so taking the time to sit down and really define who it is that I'm targeting is going to help you not only with advertising to people, but with your messaging, because you can say, if this is the person that I'm talking to and this is who I'm targeting, here's the pain points that I can solve for them. Nice. So the first step is really kind of really drilling down and getting into the persona. The next step is, just basically realizing that you need to know what people are searching for online. There's no reason to shoot in the dark. So if you are ready to move into internet marketing, the first step that I view to be the most obvious is to do keyword research or search term research. So if somebody were to go into Google and they were to type in hairstylist, what exactly are they typing in? Are they typing in hair salon? Are they typing in hairstylist? Are they typing in hairdresser? You can actually go on and do some keyword research or some search term research and figure out what's the search volume, what's the seasonality of it. Do they search for this term more in March than they do September? Do they what does it cost for me to advertise for this search term on Google? I can get all of this data around each of these search terms. And then once you do this research by looking at each of these key terms, then you can implement this into your internet marketing and say, okay, I'm going to use this search term on my website. I'm going to use this search term in any blogs that I write, on any Facebook posts that I make, on any email marketing that I send out, on any advertising that I run. And this is going to show Google that you have consistency in message. And so Google's going to say, okay, well, every time this keyword's used or this search term's used, I keep seeing this business pop up because they're using it consistently all the way around the board. So it overall helps you in the search engine optimization, which is kind of what I'm referring to when I'm saying that you utilize these search terms or these keywords in each of these different tactics that you have available to you.
All right. Step 3.
So step 3 is basically just making sure that you have a website up and running and that you have done a little bit of work to optimize it. And this is where we start looking at, do I have an e-commerce shop? Do I need to pull in Shopify? How can I reach my customers with what they need now? And in addition to just showing up for search terms and on your website and blogs, you need to be looking at directories like Google Maps and Yelp, which is step 4. Google Maps and Yelp is a wonderful place to be found for free because they're free listings. All you have to do is just go to google.com/places or go to Yelp and set up listings. And it's a place for people to leave reviews. You can have people upload photos. You can upload your own photos, link it to YouTube, put in descriptions, hours of business. And so with COVID, Google was reaching out to people with Google Maps listings and saying, are you closed? Are you open? So when somebody would actually do a search for the business or do a search for that category of business, it would automatically show which businesses were open, which businesses were closed. And in addition to that, it's a place where people can leave reviews. So, if I'm looking for a particular business, I'm going to gravitate towards the business that has 100 5-star reviews versus the business that has 5 5-star reviews.
Wow.
So Google Maps and Yelp is really two really, really important things that a business owner needs to have up and running because it's free, it shows above the organic results, and it's something that definitely influences purchase decision.
All right. Step 5.
So step 5 is basically getting involved in social media. So I leave social media as step 5 because you need to do all the above before we dive into social media. You got to have your website. You got to have your Google Maps. You got to have already thought about that persona. You got to have, thought about your search engine optimization. All of those pieces have to have been thought about before we dive into social media. And the reason why is you need to have a place to drive people. If you're doing all of this promotion and, you know, you're doing these great social media ads and you're doing these wonderful social media posts, but you're not leaving a place for somebody to learn more about you, first off, it hurts your credibility. Secondly, you're leaving yourself without a place to, you know, have that e-commerce opportunity or for people to buy from you. And thirdly, they have no other way to learn more about you. There's no landing page for them to get the detail that they're looking for, and there's no biography or history or credibility that you're able to communicate to them other than what they've seen on that social media post. So having all these other components in place is really crucial. And then once you get into social media, then I usually just drive people, if you're just getting started into social media, or if you're in social media but not really doing too well, you're too overwhelmed to manage it, or just feeling like it's a lot to handle, I usually just narrow the focus and say, if you only have time to do anything, just do Facebook and YouTube.
All right.
And if you can at least just narrow your focus and say, I'm going to get really good at Facebook and I'm going to get really good at YouTube, those two things will carry you in your social media. Because
all right, well, here's what I want to ask you, because I want to make sure people know how to get to you. How does one get in touch with you to talk in deeper, take a deeper dive in all this as we close?
So I mean, basically my website, you can go to C-Level Marketing. So it's SEE levelmarketing.com.
Nice.
And not like the ocean sea, but like vision sea.
Right.
So SEE level marketing. And so basically all my contact information's on there. And then of course I'm on the social media networks. So.
All right. It is Leeana Hagg, standout instructor for the CCTI from Indian River State College. And that'll bring to close this segment of Small Biz Florida. We will talk to you next week.
Small Biz Florida on WPSL, Port St. Lucie, and WSTU, Stewart.